Okay, so we talked in the last video about the different ways that a learner, a dog, human is motivated to do things. And if you haven't watched that, go back to part one, okay? And if this isn't making sense to you, go back to part one and see if it does make more sense. So positive reinforcement trainers like me, okay, reward-based trainers, what we are trying to do is provide safety, okay, safety and security, reliability, predictability. All those things are things like if I've got all of those, I can relax. Okay, so that's what we do first. All right. Now we then use reinforcement in order to meet the dog's needs more. All right. And I think the big difference in the different types of trainers is that we everything for us is about the dog's welfare. Okay, so I recognize if a dog has been pulling for 18 months, the dog has been hugely reinforced for pulling. Pulling has worked for the dog because the pulling behaviours wouldn't be there if they weren't getting a result for the dog. Go back to part one, okay? And I recognise that if the dog has been doing those behaviours for 18 months, they don't know how to do anything else, okay? So I then have to teach them how to do something else, all right? And the way I teach them is by rewarding the dog when the dog is walking on a loose lead and setting up our environment to make sure that loose lead walking is more likely, all right? So everything about what I do and what trainers like me do is about providing as much reinforcement for the behaviours that we want and setting up the environment to ensure that those behaviours readily happen. Okay, so an example of that for aggression would be, say your dog is so from here to that door across there. Okay, so if this is your dog's distance at which they won't lunge and bark at this distance if they see another dog, but if I walk 1, 2, 3, 4 steps forward, they start lunging and barking here. Okay, so that's what we'd call a threshold distance. So if I start walking back to 6, 8 paces back, okay, so the dog can see the dog, so our dog sees that dog. What's my dog doing now? My dog is doing behaviours that I like. Awesome, let's reinforce those behaviours, and we can use a variety of reinforcers. Okay, treats ball, we can walk off, let the dog sniff, a whole bunch of other things. All right, so what I've done there is I've set the learner up to make sure that the behaviours that I want happen, and the behaviours that I don't want, the lunging and barking, don't happen. Okay, now dog's now learned or starting to learn. Yeah, we've got some good results here, so let's take a step closer. Can you do this here? Yeah, I can do it here. Perfect. Okay, can you do it here? Yeah, I can do it here. Can you do it here? Now it's starting to get challenging. Awesome. So this is where the limit of your behaviour is today. So let's work more in this range, and we build strength in that behaviour. So the same way as when you're learning how to run a marathon, or you're training to run a marathon, if 3 miles is the most that you can do, you work around between the 2.5 and the 2.8 miles, and you build strength in your body in that range before you move on. Okay, and we've been doing this in sports for years, but we don't do this with our dogs. Okay, so that's how we work. Okay, now if I make a mistake and I put the dog too far forward and the dog lunges and barks, I recognise I made the mistake and I move back, and then we regroup, and I take that information and I note it down in my training journal, or I remember it, and I'll say that's the distance under those conditions last time, so I'll try not to happen this time. So that's a positive reinforcement based mindset. Okay, and it is a mindset. It is a mindset and a philosophy and a belief system, as well as the application of protocols and practical dog training solutions. Okay, it's a philosophy, and a lot of people don't have it. Okay, and we can see that some people think that it's okay to hit children, and other people think it's absolutely morally abhorrent. Okay, and guess which one I'm on? All right, so you see how that's a belief system. Yeah, I believe that it's okay to hit children, and some people turn around and say no, it's not. Okay, and where does the science back us? Where does the science sit? Okay, where does our research sit? Okay, so that's positive reinforcement, and I'm going to cover a couple other ones in the next sessions. Thank you.